Hi, Maharaj. Dandavad.
Dandavad, how are you?
Good, thanks. Yes. Happy to see you.
Good seeing you. How was the weekend? Did you have a lot of celebrations this weekend?
Yeah, we did.
Which days did you celebrate in England?
Prabhupada's disappearance was Monday. Yeah.
And Govardhan Puja?
Govardhan Puja was Friday.
Huh. And did you have a Saturday and Sunday program?
Yeah, Saturday program at Hatton Cross and Sunday program Green Street.
So you had Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
Yeah.
Big weekend.
Indeed. And you?
Same. The same.
Yeah. Nice.
Although we didn't know Saturday I just have my usual 10-hour Zoom meeting.
So restful day then.
Yeah. At the Zoom meeting, we accomplished a lot. We reinvented the wheel and discovered fire. It was quite an accomplishment. Krishna Mohini, how are you? ¿Cómo está?
Dandan Maharaj, muy bien, ¿y usted?
Good.
We lost your picture, Maharaj.
Yeah, and I click on start video. Somehow or other, it says start video, and then it says unable to start video. You can't start your video because the host has stopped it.
A rascal.
Rascal host. Okay, start my now. Oh. Simply rascaldom.
Rascal number one.
¿Estás bien, Krishna Mohini?
Yes, Maharaj. Maharaj. Okay. Everything is okay here.
Are you there with Subhadra and
Ven para que saludemos.
and Shama Sundari? No, she's at work.
She's working. Dandavat, Maharaj.
Dandavat. You're at work?
I'm on the way back home now. I'm on the bus.
Karuna, how are you? No sound.
Dandavat, Maharaj. Sorry.
Dandavat. How is everything?
Yeah, it's okay. How are you doing?
Okay, good. Everything's okay.
Yeah, I had a question, but I don't know if I should ask it or not. It's something random.
Depends on what the question is.
Obviously it's about Kishan. Everything's fine. I'd like to ask, he's asking about getting initiation from you. He's been asking me a few times now recently. I don't know, what do you think about that? I know because you're there as well.
How old is he?
He's 14 now.
Oh, yeah. Why not?
Sorry?
Why not? If he wants to, we can do that.
Okay, now I thought I'd ask you because I've been willing to ask for a while, but just couldn't get.
And what's his full name is Krishna Kirtan?
No, it's just Kishan at the moment. You can choose, obviously, the name.
Kirtan.
Kishan. Yeah.
I thought you said Krishna Kirtan, so anyway.
No, it's Kishan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have a Krishna Kirtan in London. Hari Kirtan's brother.
Yeah, that'd be nice whenever you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
and you're good.
Yeah, I'm okay, Maharaj.
Where's your husband?
Oh, and the tie, he come back from work. He's just not feeling too well, like quite tired, working hard, and
Okay.
he's just gone to sleep right now.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I'll show you the little one. I'll see the little. Oh, hold on. Amma. There's a marvel. Say hello. Say Danavats. Hey.
How old is he?
He's 1 year, 2 months now. Amma, look.
Nice.
Say Danavats. Amma, look.
Lots of
Oh,
hair.
boy. Hold on. Look.
He has
Amma.
lots of hair.
Yeah.
Nice. Very-
He's smiling
lots
at
of
me.
teeth. He has lots of teeth too.
Yeah. He bites as well.
Well,
Yeah. He's smiling at Nalini, making him laugh. Shh, Nalini, stop now.
nice. How
Okay.
many? And
Yeah.
you have a daughter too.
Yeah, Nalini, she's on the other side. She doesn't like videos and cameras. She does it her separately, but she don't like it when there's other people. She gets a bit nervous and shy. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. Well, we can work that out. I can send me
Yeah.
your how I can contact you. I think I already have your email, right?
Maybe. I could still send it from with Natai. I will send it. Ugh.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll get in touch and contact with you.
Okay, Maharaj. Oh, leave that. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Maharaj. No,
I'll let you go before you get eaten.
it's okay. I'm here still. How was it? Is it Mexico you went, Maharaj? Mexico?
What?
Are you in Mexico recently? Was it
No.
Mexico?
I was in
Oh,
Mexico. I came back about a week and a half ago.
is it okay there?
Oh, it was very nice. It was very beautiful.
That's good. Mm.
Uh,
Okay.
it's very beautiful and very nice. Kind of
Mm.
like maybe kind of like Ireland, huh?
Oh, okay. I've never been there. I'm not sure about that.
Just a joke.
Oh,
Ireland with sombreros.
Huh?
Ireland with sombreros.
Huh. Most people don't wear sombreros now. They wear baseball caps.
That's a shame.
It's not a shame.
I
Baseball
think they
caps
should
are
wear their national dress.
baseball caps are the universal sombreros.
Oh, not in England. We all wear bowler hats here.
I don't think so. It's just a question whether you wear your baseball cap forward or backwards,
Right.
or some people a little oddly wear it sideways. All right, Lavanya Mayi,
I know that's Maharaj. Oh, I'm on mute.
are you well? You're on mute.
She wasn't, and then she muted herself, I think.
Are you well? You're muted. Okay, no.
Danavats Maharaj. Yes, I'm well. All good.
Okay. The epidemic passed through London.
Yes. It's all peaceful now. I don't even know what COVID is anymore.
Oh, you don't?
Well, the devotees got through it okay, and now it's
I think that's all thanks to the Prime Minister, huh? He's done a bang-up job.
still got the biggest death rate in the world, but yeah.
All right. So here we are again. And do any of the devotees have a question is there anything from sent in questions? Sent in questions.
I've not received anything, but usually they send them to Ishanuga, but Ishanuga's in Sweden. But she is on here with Saraswati, I see.
Yeah.
What about Saraswati? Is she in London?
Sweden. They're both in Sweden.
Hello, Maharaj.
Really?
Hello, everyone.
There they are. I thought Saraswati was just in Sweden a few weeks ago.
That was 8 months ago. The time flies.
Oh, it was less than 8 months. It must have been a month or two ago. 8 months.
Yes.
What is Ishanuga doing there? She's not married to anybody from Sweden.
We are on holiday, Maharaj.
We came to visit Chaitanya here in Sweden. My son Chaitanya, he lives here.
Yeah.
And he's not 100%, his health is not 100%. So I have to take care of a few things regarding his health here.
Okay. Do you have a nice Swedish sweater like Ishanuga's?
No. It's -8 here, -8 degrees.
And Ishanuga, she got a Swedish wool sweater, huh?
Yes, look.
She will give it to me in a few years, so I get her remnants.
She gives you remnants, or you give her remnants?
She gives me remnants. I accept happily.
Huh?
She's older, so I accept happily her remnants.
All right, say. All these things are new to me.
Lakshmikanti and Krishna Kishora there. Dandavat.
But so you're telling me that Sweden is colder than London?
Yes, we are in the north of Sweden, Maharaj, in the border with Finland. It's very north and very cold.
They have snow.
Well, that's very convenient. You can always make snow cones. All you need is a little syrup. Well, it's nice. That's nice. North of Sweden. Why would you go to the north of Sweden?
Yeah, it's not my choice.
Oh, it's Ishanuga. It's Ishanuga's choice to go to the north of Sweden.
No, Maharaj.
It's out of duty. We are here for my son.
Where's he live?
He lives in the north of Sweden, Haparanda.
Where?
Haparanda.
Haparanda.
Next to Tornio, Finland, on the border with Tornio.
Haparanda. All right. Like Haparanda Bunchen Pot.
You got good Wi-Fi there, though.
Yes.
That. What's all those papers, Lavanya? You're in silent mode again.
Sorry, Maharaj. That's the bags for the prasadam distribution for tomorrow. I'm just going to put the labels on them for the addresses, for the families, while I'm sitting here.
So what prasadam are you distributing?
Well, just a meal for the, like elderly and sick people in their homes. and for this, there's a local school for the children who don't have enough food at home, and a food bank. And I like, I don't quite know. I mean, I don't know what, it's a risotto tomorrow. Yeah, it's a risotto. Khichdi, I know, chickpeas and barley and vegetables, risotto.
Chickpeas, barley, khichdi, chickpeas, barley, and vegetables.
No, not khichdi. That it's a bit of a khichdi, the preparation. It's barley with chickpeas and vegetables mixed. Just a one prep and a cake.
Oh, that sounds pretty good.
Well,
It
hopefully.
sounds like it has a low glycemic index.
Exactly.
Does it?
I think so. Oh, something a bit different. Because it's very cold now to do rice, you know. Rice is a bit cooling, isn't it?
Oh,
So that's
it
what-
increases blood sugar. I know that much.
yeah. Well,
Do you, Devashis, do you eat khichdi? No sound either. Our own hosts, they can't even speak with sound. Still no.
Yes, Maharaj, I love khichdi. Yes, very fond of khichdi.
Can you eat it?
Yeah.
I thought people with high blood sugar, they wouldn't be eating so much that.
Oh no, I just take drugs, Maharaj. That's all. Eat everything and take drugs.
What do you take metformin?
Yeah, a type of metformin. Yeah, glucophage.
Oh, okay. All right, now that's interesting. So everyone's well, I take it. The Saraswati and her sister Ishanuga are in Sweden. Where's Karuna? Karuna stays in Birmingham or
Southampton.
Southampton? Okay. That's to the south, I take it.
Yeah.
And
it's just near Bournemouth, Maharaj, near the devotees in Bournemouth, south on the coast.
oh, I see. And being on the is it warm there in Bournemouth?
No.
No. It's not warm anywhere, right?
No. Well, it was like 13 degrees today in the daytime. It's not cold yet.
Yeah, I talked to somebody. Who is it? I talked to someone when we did our program in Spanish, and somebody was really bundled up, and I said, "Oh, what? It's gotten cold there," and he said, "Yes, it's 20 degrees." He said these sudden climate changes make me cold.
Oh dear.
So we're trying to organize some things in the mission, as I said before, about primary trust board and some statements, give a little bit of guidance to the devotees. And I don't know how much we'll be able to change what's going on in India. It seems like a certain amount of chaos there. But anyway, we I wrote a statement and we'll post it online, along with Gurudev's wills, because the primary trust board is explained or mentioned in some detail in Gurudev's will. Mm. So would any of the devotees like to ask a question?
Guys,
Dandava Maharaj.
Dhanyavad.
Dandava a todos los
How are you?
Bloody hell.
What happened?
Maharaj,
Yeah.
can you hear me? Dandava
Yes.
Pranam.
Dhanyavad.
I have a question. Well, it's not really a question. It's more like if you will be able to please expand a little bit about the meaning of strata.
Shraddha. Okay.
Yes, I'm reading it here, and I got a bit. There are too many comments, so it's not very clear.
Okay. Well, Shraddha means faith. And Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Sridhar Maharaj explains that we are really living on the plane of faith. Everything depends on faith. And some people think that this implies sentimentality, but it doesn't. Everyone in the world is living on some plane of faith, but they don't have actual sukriti and they don't have spiritual faith, but they have faith in so many other things. They're working hard and they're receiving pay, whether it's pounds or dollars or so many other currencies. It's basically, in one sense, you could say, worthless paper. But why is that worthless paper accepted for barter? For I give pounds or dollars to a merchant, and he gives me merchandise, and obviously the merchandise that I receive is worth more than the paper that I've given him. I've given a couple small pieces of paper, and he's giving me something valuable, like a car or a bag of groceries or whatever. So obviously there's something giving some support to the currency, and that's the government. And because the government is backing the paper currency, people have faith in that. Now, whether their faith is justified or not, it seems to be justified on a day-to-day basis. But it may not, it's not, obviously it's not an eternal fact, because we've seen that some countries, their whole economy fell apart and their money became worthless. So, but I did say we are living on the plane of faith, and it's not a blind faith, because along with our faith leads us to acquire sukriti, and we also have, you could say, revelation. I mean, confirmation. I'm following the principles of devotional service, and I receive some realization that's applicable to my life, that over time, devotional values become very meaningful to me. And I have appreciation for those devotional values. It leads me to develop feelings of affection towards my God brothers, to my sisters and brothers, my spiritual sisters and brothers. I feel affection for them. I feel a natural kinship with them. I enjoy speaking with them and talking about subjects of the glorification of the Lord and his devotees. I enjoy reading devotional literatures, and all these things are confirming my faith and confirming my values. And I also have realization. I can see in my daily life, even when interacting with persons who are not devotees, I can still see the value of my devotional feelings and my devotional beliefs. I can see every day confirmation of those feelings and beliefs just in my reaction with the outer world. And I don't see that just in the form of perceiving the superficiality of the material world, although that is there also. But I see it in terms of also that I feel some compassion for the sufferings of the persons I see in society and the persons around me, and how, I don't want to say how meaningless their lives are, because life is not meaningless, especially to them. And I don't want to be condescending, but I feel some compassion for them because I see they are suffering without any actual illumination in their life. They cannot understand the difficulties that they encounter and how we all live in a world which is full of, full of life and also full of death. And people cannot comprehend that in a way that's applicable to their own lives. So my faith is giving me actually happiness, and it's giving me satisfaction, and it's giving me confirmation through revelation of the teachings that I at the same time, I feel sometimes sad that I cannot live up to the expectations, or not the expectations, my own expectations of what I believe a Vaishnava should be and how he or she should act and what they should feel. But still at the same time, I cannot go back to try to enjoy this world. It's not possible for me. It's really not possible. I can have some satisfaction in living in this world and participating in this world and all the, so many things that you may enjoy in your life, or in terms of, your family and friends and your loved ones, your pets, your acquisitions, your house and your car, and so many things. We can indulge in that, but at the same time, it's like Srila Sridhar said, if this whole world is on fire, none of us have any obligation to even throw a bucket of water on it. Does that seem realistic or fair? Does that seem? What do you think? Is that fair if the whole world is in flames and a fire is totally out of control, that we have does it seem fair that we have no responsibility to even throw a bucket of water on it? Although if somebody said, here's a bucket of water, please throw it, I'd go, okay, and throw the bucket of water on the flames. But I mean, as far as my own self, I personally feel I have many mundane attachments in terms of sports and friends and society and I have so many mundane attachments. But at the same time, I honestly recognize that if I had to, in 1 second, leave all of those things behind, I would not even look behind me. That's how much my attachment is. I may on my day-to-day life have some attachment to so many things, but actually when it comes right down to it, I don't care. I don't care really. I don't care for any of those things. I only care for what is of real substance, which is devotion. So this, I feel, So Guru Maharaj and our acharyas have explained we're living on the plane of faith. Because of our faith, we're able to continue in Krishna consciousness. We have faith that's brought us into contact with the devotees. We have faith that's caused us to take shelter of a spiritual master. We have faith. We're distributing Krishna consciousness as per our realization and ability to others. So all this is happening as a base on the basis of Shraddha, on a basis of faith. So for me, that's what faith is. It's something like this. It's really the center point of our lives. We're living on that plane. We're living on that plane of faith. Is that, do you understand?
Yes, Maharaj, thank you. How can we continue to live every day on that plane without distraction?
I think we already are doing that. You know, we're already doing that because faith is not just like something like salt and pepper. You sprinkle it onto a meal. It's not like that. The fact that you've come in contact with devotional service, the devotees, and you're able to mold your life according to your own beliefs, all that implies Shraddha. It all implies Shraddha. And how can you increase your faith? Well, by so many things, by associating with devotees. It's always nice to be able to have the devotees association. So if you can associate with the devotees in one of the temples there in London, that's good. And if it's difficult for you because of distances involved, then maybe you can have Namahata programs in your house or in other people's house. Members of the community, they can have Namahata programs in their houses and on a rotating basis. And maybe pick a night like Friday or something to do that. Go in Harinam, do things like this. Is there any Namahata program in London or nearby London?
Not regular, but we do get invitations now and again to people's homes, or community halls sometimes organize something for us to come and speak, have kirtan.
Mm-hmm. So, Falguni, then if you can meet with the devotees, and if it's hard for you to regularly get to the temple, then maybe you can have something there where you're living, or maybe in the evening you can use. Do you have a restaurant?
Yes, Maharaj.
Is there space in it? Is it big?
There is a space, yes.
Maybe sometime you can have programs there.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. I have to see how that fits into your schedules.
Then we will have Devashis to come and talk.
Good. How far are you away from the temples?
It's quite far. So it's the other side of the city for him.
And how long does it take to go there?
Couple of hours.
To us, it takes us over an hour and a half to either temple.
Oh, that's quite
an hour and a half to 2.
And you're closest to East London or to the Heathrow temple?
In terms of distance, I think East London is closer, but in terms of time, it's almost the same.
Wow. Anyway, That's one way, by meeting with the devotees. Another way is by maintaining some contact with the devotees, correspondence, also by or email or WhatsApp, and also by reading books, guru reading books, maybe inviting Devashis, have a program in the restaurant, and invite Devashis to come there and speak. That's a good idea. He loves driving in London traffic.
I
Well,
can
that I could
imagine,
do.
especially on peak time.
Especially, yes.
Especially what?
During peak hour, peak traffic. That's everybody's dream.
Well, perhaps. Oh, but on the weekends, there already are programs on Saturday and Sunday. I don't know what to say. Is there some demigod in charge of traffic?
Yeah, probably. He's probably sitting in a traffic jam right now.
Which demigod would be in charge of traffic? I wonder into which province
I don't know.
that fits.
Gurudev would always pray to Hanuman before traveling.
Huh. Nice. Anyway, do you have any comments about the topic of Shraddha?
Who are you asking, Maharaj? Me?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, it's true. Actually, although we don't always realize it, everything we do is an act of faith. Every single thing. You know, even when you put one foot in front of another, it's because you have faith that the earth will give you support. Or when you eat your Cocoa Pops in the morning, and you have some faith that you'll get some nourishment from that. It's like everything. Some faith is there. It's just kind of innate, isn't it, within us? And we just have to direct it in the right direction. So then Shraddha, you could say, is faith, but directed towards the divine. Or I think Srila Prabhupada said faith in something sublime, isn't it?
All right. I had an interesting remark from my doctor yesterday when I was talking to him. Someone gave me one of those elliptical bicycles, and then I said to him, well, I don't know if I have the discipline to use that much. And then my doctor said, based on the life that you're living, I'd say that you're not short on discipline. So it is true, although I don't know if that answers my question about a exercise bike, but at the same time, we do have a certain amount of discipline in our life, and obviously I'm wearing robes so the doctor could see that. And I think there's discipline in the life of all the devotees. And that is something that is giving nutrition to our faith, just our own discipline. We don't really leave our devotional values. We don't ever abandon them. I mean, maybe when somebody's brand new, they can have some difficulties. And as Srila Govinda Maharaj says, that, or as Devashis gave the example, he said, when you put one foot down and then another foot, you have some faith that you'll receive support from the earth without even thinking about it. But that's also akin to an example given by that when you fall down, you know, like a child learning to walk, when you take a step, then you try walking. The child tries walking and then sometimes falls down because it hasn't learned yet how to walk nicely, just starting to learn, and then falls down, but uses the same earth to which he falls as support to push himself back up. And then gradually, through this discipline, walking, falling, walking, falling, walking, falling, eventually becomes very adept at walking. And as Srila Govinda Maharaj or Srila Guru Maharaj gives the example, at one time the person may become an Olympic runner, very expert, but you wouldn't know it just looking at them on their early attempts at walking. They're stumbling, they cannot walk, and they have difficulty. Any child goes through that. But then later becomes a champion of distance walking or running. So who could have imagined that just looking at the child? So in the beginning also, many of us have difficulties. We can have some things even where our faith is tested. I'm reading also in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, there are many instances of devotees' faith being tested, just like it is said that when Mahaprabhu called to Sanatana Goswami to come to him when he was at the Tolta Gopinath temple, that Sanatana Goswami walked over the blazing hot sands of the beach, and that gave him blisters on his feet. And when Mahaprabhu asked him, why did you walk on that path rather than going by the Simhadvar gate, which is much cooler, he said, because if anyone touched him, such as a pujari of the temple, they sometimes come and go on that main path by the Simhadvar gate, by the main gate of the Jagannath temple. Sanatana Goswami said if anyone came in contact with him, they would become soiled, they would become contaminated, and he didn't want that karma, so he preferred to walk over the hot sands of the beach which blistered his feet. And when Mahaprabhu asked him about it, he said, well, actually, I didn't feel that much pain. And it said Mahaprabhu was happy. And one of the reasons Mahaprabhu was happy is that the whole incident was meant as something of a test for Sanatana Goswami. I wouldn't use the word test, but we would say examination. That he is being his qualities are being examined by Mahaprabhu, and he liked how Sanatana Goswami dealt with the situation, how he dealt with walking on the hot sands did not disturb him as much as violating in his eyes the Vaishnava etiquette. And when Rupa Goswami came to meet with Mahaprabhu and he's explaining his poetry and his writings, then Srila Govinda Maharaj has called that the examination hall of Rupa Goswami. That the position of Rupa Goswami is being examined by Ramananda Roy and all the devotees, because Mahaprabhu has already accepted Ramananda Roy as the leader of our whole sampradaya, which we call the Rupanuga sampradaya. He's already accepted Rupa Goswami because of his outstanding devotional qualities, and Mahaprabhu asked all the Vaishnavas, he wants them all to see Rupa Goswami's qualities, and he wants them to all accept and worship Rupa Goswami. And Govinda Maharaj is called that when Rupa Goswami explains his writings, his poetry, because he really is also Shastra Guru, he's presenting Shastra for the whole Sampradaya, then that Govinda Maharaj calls that an examination hall. So even big devotees like Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, they're being examined, not because there's any shortcomings in them, but because that examination is showing, is highlighting, is putting a spotlight on them so that the whole world can see their outstanding, just who they are, how they're the natural leaders in our Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. So like that, we're also being examined, and we can examine ourselves, our own faith, and progressing in Krishna consciousness is like that. There may be some failures. It's not like everything we do is 100% successful. We may have our own shortcomings. I'm aware of my shortcomings. I don't know if I think I'm becoming. Sometimes I think that I'm actually becoming psychotic, because I sometimes very heavily, sometimes not even in nice words, I chastise myself verbally. I chastise myself. Why did you do that? Why are you thinking in this way? Sometimes even out loud. Do you ever do that? Does anyone ever do that? I'm wondering. Maybe I'm just becoming totally insane. I don't know.
No, Maharaj, I do that almost every day, all the time.
Yeah, I say that. Like I say, say something like, people think that you're smart, but you're actually stupid. Why are you doing that? I mean, I become my own worst critic. If somebody was around, could hear that, which they're not, but they would think, this guy's totally cuckoo. Cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo. Why does he talk to himself? And why does he talk in such bad language? And I remember Vaishnava Maharaj. Vaishnava Maharaj, he used to say, people tell me I'm all right. And he also said, people tell me I haven't changed in 30 years. I look the same. And then he said, but then I look in the mirror, and the mirror does not lie. So sometimes I wonder if the mirror is a living example of that fictional story of somebody saw, what is it? They saw her real self in the mirror. Anyway, I once mentioned Srila Prabhupada, the term, let them eat cake, and he was very upset, and he said, where's that from? And I said, oh, it's just something that Marie Antoinette supposedly said. He said, then Prabhupada said, outside of the Shastra, there is nothing. And he didn't even want to hear the example or the reference to Marie Antoinette. Outside the Shastra, there is nothing. And then somebody told him, oh, we have heard that Gandhi said the name Ram at the time of his death. You've heard that, right? That Gandhi chanted the name Ram at the time of his death. And Prabhupada just said, I don't know, I wasn't there. So he rather disdained anything that was not directly in the Shastras. Although Guru Maharaj, he does refer to the writings of Hegel. When he says reality is by itself and for itself. So believe a reference to Hegel. But Guru Maharaj uses these things as affirmations, as confirmations by people who, in the mundane world, who have at least recognized the validity of conclusions that have become universal truths of the Vaishnavas, and truths that have become universal truths of the Vaishnavas since the beginning of time. And some modern philosophers, although Hegel's not so modern, but I mean, compared to eternal time, he's a newcomer. And that his statements reaffirm what are Vaishnava sentiments. I mean, I studied literature, and they have things which they call archetypal criticism, and they refer to archetypes or recurring themes or mystical themes that are there in literatures, and they'll refer that. A lot of times it's all a bunch of bullcrap. They'll refer a lot of it to Christian imagery and imagery of the cross and all that. Okay, fine and dandy, and maybe the author did put that in there, but I would really say archetypes are not just meant for confirming religion. Archetypes are meant to show what is actual genuine worth of devotional substance, devotional realizations that now are coming up in this world. And I've had to deal with it. I think recently, was it at the meeting here last week or recently, someone was telling me, oh, it was here, where someone was saying that all these tragedies have been happening, in Bangladesh, right?
Yeah.
And why does the Lord allow these things to happen?
Yeah, yes, Maharaj, last week.
Yeah. And it's like, you do everything independently of the Lord, and anything that goes well, you take credit for. But anything that goes badly, anything that goes well, you give the credit to yourself. And anything that goes badly, you give the blame to God. Now, it seems like a stacked deck, so to speak, a rigged card game. That anything that's good, one will take credit for it, his or herself. And anything's wrong, it's due to God. God's incompetence. That incompetent God. Why can't he get it straight? Why does God allow bad things to happen to good people? As if good people had no previous karma. Good people have been good since the beginning of time. Well, how do you know? Because it's a child. She's only 3 years old. Oh, is she? She's not an eternal jiva soul. She's a child of 3 years old. You've got it down. You've got, you've taken, what is it, a polygraph. Are polygraphs given to parrots?
Parrots.
Polygraphs.
Very good, Maharaj. Yeah.
Anyway, we dealt with that last week. This is like something rehashed out of Christianity. Why do bad things happen to good people? Only now it's being why do bad things happen to good devotees? or innocent devotee. I wonder if people were saying that when Haridas Thakur was being beaten in 22 marketplaces. Did anyone say, why is Krishna allowing this to happen? I don't see any references in the Chaitanya Charitamrita to that. The closest reference is that the people who were beating Haridas Thakur began to doubt their own right to administer a beating. They come to the conclusion, we beat you in 22 marketplaces, and normally somebody would die after 2 or 3 marketplaces, but now we've been to all the marketplaces and you're still untouched, you're still well. Then makes us begin to doubt our profession, that maybe it's possible that we are beating a saint, because nobody else apart from a saint would be able to survive this vicious beating. So ipso facto, you must be a saint. And by the same logic that you're a saint, we must be accruing a really nasty amount of karma, of reaction, by having to beat you. But then somebody would say, no, but not really, because this is Leela, and anything can happen in Leela. But in real life, were this to happen, then we would have doubts about why God is billed as all merciful. In Leela, it's all right. We can understand Leela. We have no qualms with that. But this isn't Leela. This is real life. Those things about Haridas, etc. Those are just stories. They're fables, mythology. But what's happening today? To me, it's totally absurd. I would say, I don't want to be tossing names out, because maybe if we somebody individually, although the person knows it's wrong, might still blame the Lord or his devotees for what is happening to them. That would be totally wrong, but it's possible in one's day-to-day illusion that one could allow that to happen. But at least one would hope that one could recognize it. I'm in illusion. Why am I saying or thinking these things? They're not in accord with what is our devotional teachings. Like, I remember a conversation that happened between Professor Kotovsky and Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada mentioned this because one time he was asked to speak at the American Institute or something. He was one Western society in England. They asked him to speak, and the subject was something to do with the difference between East and West. And Srila Prabhupada began by speaking. He said, when you consider, obviously Prabhupada was not a flat earther, but he said, if you consider the globe, the round, that you can go east or west, arrive in India. It doesn't really matter whether you go east or west, you can still reach India. He said, in one sense, east and west, they're relative terms. But at the same time, Srila Prabhupada said, at the same time, if we had to define a difference between East and West, would say, as an example of Western thought, he said, even a big professor like Professor Kotovsky of Moscow, he said that his remark was, when you die, everything is finished. When you come to the time of your death, everything is finished. Meaning, person has no faith in the Lord, afterlife, or anything. He said, when So Prabhupada said, a big Western philosopher comes to the conclusion that after death there is nothing, that death is the final call. And he said, but if you ask, Prabhupada said, but if you ask a common rickshaw driver in Bengal, how is your life? He would say, Jai karma, Jai fall. That I'm just enjoying the results of my karma. So Prabhupada said, any rickshaw waller in India has enough faith, enough understanding to say that I'm just getting my karma. How is your life? I'm just getting my karma, whether it's good or bad. Whereas he said, a big philosopher from the West, a professor, says, when this body is finished, everything is over. That was his statement. When this body is finished, everything is over. So, when we imply that God is not all merciful, that the Lord, that Krishna and Mahaprabhu, they're not all merciful, then we're stating a conclusion that we don't believe that we're just getting our karma or suffering our karma, that is the basis of why we're going through tribulations in life. We don't really have that belief. And maybe that's true. Sometimes we forget. So then the question is, how can we reinforce our shraddha? How can we reinforce our belief? And I guess we'll just have to take the proper nutrition, whatever that may be. Chanting, hearing, reading, associating with devotees, doing all the favorable devotional practices. Maybe that will be our opportunity to grow and develop more faith by our diligence and carefulness in trying to follow Krishna consciousness. I wish I could convince my mind to do that. We always hear the mind is the best friend or the worst enemy. And I'm trying to find out where that best friend is hidden, because I've never seen that. And Srila Govindamar said, well, sometimes your mind may say to you, but sometimes they help you. Sometimes they give you good guidance. Your mind may tell you that. That's just sucker bait. That's just your mind is trying to sucker you. Oh yes, didn't I help you last week? Not to mention the hundreds of times you didn't help me, that you just tried to delude me. But didn't I help you last week? No, you didn't. You're just saying that now. You're saying that now so that I will have some confidence in you. But actually, dear mind, you're nothing but a cheap, low-class prostitute. Full of disease. Not my best friend at all. Well, would you say that a low-class, dirty prostitute is your greatest enemy? No, such a prostitute is not my worst enemy. But my mind, you are worse than that. I was just giving an example as illustration of being like a cheap prostitute, but my mind, you're worse than that. You make a cheap prostitute look angelic. That is what I have to live with. This so-called mind. And I remember my mother used to tell me, she said, sometimes I think you're too smart for your own good. Did anyone ever hear something like that?
Yeah.
Sometimes I think you're too smart for your own good. Well, that's That's a good description of my mind. Sometimes I think you're just too smart for your own good. Bhagavan, how are you? ¿Cómo estás? Bhagavan?
Dhanyavad to all the devotees. Okay, by the grace of the devotees, Guru, Vaishnavas, I'm fine, happy to hear to you, to see all the devotees. Very nice.
¿Cuándo te trasladaste a Londres? I'm asking him when he moved to London.
Every Wednesday, I
Okay, good
every
answer.
Wednesday.
Every Wednesday. All right. Jailalita, is she in London?
Yes.
Yes, Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Dandavad Pranam.
Dandavad, do you have a camera? Oh.
No, it's not working properly, Maharaj. I'm so sorry.
Oh. Where are you living?
In central London,
Are you
around
from
Shoreditch.
London? Huh?
Well, my parents are from the Canary Islands, where the volcano now erupted. And I grew up in Venezuela, and now I'm in London.
So, okay. You grew up in Venezuela.
Yeah. Yeah, because my parents, after a civil war, they migrated to Venezuela. So they spent over there lots of years, and then we come back to Canary Island.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So are you in the? So you're in the Canary Islands, or you're in London?
No, I'm in London. Yeah, I'm living here since 2007.
Okay, very good.
Yeah. Gurudev sent me here because I was so afraid to come here, and then he went in. He was in Venezuela, and I said, "Oh, please, Gurudev, what can I do? Go to London. It's fine. It's fine." And he blessed me to be here. So yeah, it wasn't very easy, but you know, I still remember his blessing, and I just endure whatever
And
happened.
Whose blessing was that?
Srila Govinda Maharaj.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
When he gave you those blessings when he went to Venezuela?
No, to England, to London.
Oh.
He was in Venezuela in that particular time, and I was too. And I will have a little chat with him, and he blessed me to come here. So it was
nice.
because Ishanuga invited to me, said, "You must come to London." But I was so afraid about that. But then Gurudev just told me, "Yes, carry on, do that." So.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm very glad. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing, you know, that Venezuela, I don't know what is the total population of Venezuela. Does anyone know?
Mm.
Maybe
No,
25 million people? Does that seem right?
I'm not sure, Maharaj.
Does anyone know? Maybe, I don't know. But out of a country that's not, I mean, even if you say 25 million people is a lot of people, maybe they have more, maybe 30, 35 million, but.
Yeah, you're close, Maharaj. 28.4 million.
Okay. And yet, because. Yeah. But maybe because of the political events that have happened in Venezuela, which is surprising because when I used to go to Venezuela, it was the most opulent country in South America, and maybe the most opulent country in Latin America. It was very opulent in the sense that everybody had a carefree life and everyone nobody was I mean, maybe in some of the flazellas or poor sections, people didn't have money, but Srila Prabhupada used to say, there's always somebody living by the footpath. Somebody always has to be poor. But in general, especially in Caracas, people were relatively, they led a carefree existence. And then after the political changes there, they went from being very, very well off to being very poor. And now that's bad enough, but people could not, many people left Venezuela, and now we find in many temples and many countries all over the whole world, there are Venezuelans in the congregation. And many of the even leaders in our mission, like with the Acharya Maharaj and others, many of the leading devotees were from Venezuela. And maybe the events, we can say some of the reactions, how, like if people ask about Bangladesh, why do good people suffer? Well, maybe in the case of Venezuela, we could say, why was such an opulent, nice country allowed to become so things became so difficult that many of the citizens ran away from Venezuela out because they could no longer survive in the atmosphere of Venezuela. For many reasons, people left, but one way or another, this has really enriched all the temples all over the world. I know here in SoCal, we have a good number of Venezuelans in our community. In London, there are a good number of Venezuelans. In India, with Acharya Maharaj, he had good number of Venezuelans that were helping him. Many of the sannyasis that are there are from Venezuela, like for instance, Narasingha Maharaj and Sajjan Maharaj and Sadhu Maharaj and others, Venezuelans and some of the leading devotees and leading servitors, London, America, in Mexico also, we have Venezuelan devotees in many of our communities. And just about so many places in the whole world, so many countries you can find that now there are Venezuelan devotees among their congregation. And I would say that has really helped the temples. There's many good servitors have come from Venezuela. So somebody asked me, well, why do bad things happen? Like, why did bad things happen in Venezuela? I could also say, well, maybe that's part of the Lord's plan to make those persons move out of Venezuela and go to other places where they really are helping the devotional communities. And maybe that's more important. And so maybe referring back to Bangladesh and all that, why bad things happen there. Well, maybe if you look in our scriptures, many of the acharyas and leading devotees, they were from Bangladesh. And maybe some of the persons who are running away from Bangladesh, maybe in the future, those persons, just like as now, even now, maybe some of the leading devotees and some of the leading acharyas, they were from Bangladesh. So sometimes something happens in a place to make people go to other places and help there. Or maybe sometimes something wrong happens in a place to make people reflect upon what is really important, and it increases their devotion. I don't know. I'm not omniscient, omnipresent, or anything like that. I can't say why things happen, but maybe sometimes we see that so-called bad things happen, and it's actually according to the Lord's plan. And maybe those bad things also help increase people's devotion, Like what happened with Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur was in jail, and the people in jail prayed to him. Haridas, please pray for us to get out. And Haridas said, no, I'm praying that you will stay in jail. And people were disturbed. Why are you saying like that? You're a saint. Why are you cursing us? And he said, no, you're in jail. You're thinking about the Lord. You're praying to the Lord. Your devotional qualities are enriched, and everything is happening because you're in jail. But as soon as you're let out, you'll go back to your old mundane lives, your sinful activities, doing so many things wrong. You're robbing, cheating, killing, whatever. But right now, you're more saintly. You're praying, oh, my Lord, please help me, because you're in jail. But when you're out of jail, you'll forget all those prayers. And you could say, well, why such a wrong attitude? Why you think wrong of us? No. We even hear that the living being, when he's in the womb, prays to the Lord, my Lord, for so many lifetimes I have forgotten you. And now I'm suffering in this womb. Please help me. Please help me. But when that person gets out, then they'll forget. Now, Haridas Thakur wasn't really cursing the persons. Rather, he's not cursing them. He doesn't want them to just stay in jail, but he's telling them something to make them understand that they have to remain in Krishna consciousness even when they're released from jail. Don't just go back to your normal mundane lives, but try to remember how you were earnestly praying to the Lord and asking for help when you were in jail. Then when you get out, continue with your devotion. Don't just forget about this. Don't make it that you only pray to the Lord when you're in need. Something like that. Maybe some of these events that happen in Bangladesh or in Venezuela, they're also meant to help people understand the relationship with the Lord and those who serve the Lord. However they may call it, whether they call it Catholicism, Christianity, or devotional service, or Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Maybe some of these things happen to make people change their attitudes or reflect upon what's important to them. I don't know. Maybe if I was in the same situation, I might just cry. Oh, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? Or maybe if I had some sukriti, maybe I could reflect upon what the real Lord's real desire is. It's possible, I guess. Still no comments from Anonymous, right?
Not to me, as I say. I usually send them to Ishanuga, so I don't know if she's received anything or not.
No, she hasn't received anything. She's in Sweden. Everything goes slow in Sweden. Things have to come.
She just sent me a message. Nothing today, she said.
Okay. Yeah, Ishanuga, she knows that messages have to come by walrus. Very slow.
Maharaj, I wanted to try to formulate a question, but it's very difficult to come up with the right, line. Okay. You talked about faith and how to cultivate faith, but what to avoid to prevent our faith to maintain our faith. What is it like? We have seen we have heard from the.
Well, we already had that question.
No, but we have read and heard from Chaitanya Charitamrita how much they emphasize that we have to avoid Vaishnava aparath, and we have seen so many devotees that have maybe left the mission, is it due to Vaishnava aparatha that they lose their faith?
It's hard to say that it's due to Vaishnava aparad. Everybody's lost their faith. Maybe some persons, their faith was very fragile, and some test happened in their life and they could not survive that test. Maybe it was not due to, not necessarily I can make some condemnation that everybody who leaves is because of Vaishnava aparad. It is true we have to be very careful to avoid Vaishnava aparad. But maybe with some persons their faith was not so strong to begin with. I heard of, people, just like what happened with Mahaprabhu when he went to South India. His servant was Krishnadas, and Krishnadas was allured by some Bhattataris. Bhattataris are like gypsies, and they have black magic. But, it's also said that maybe those, what we understand, that Krishnadas was allured because the Bhattataris, the gypsies, sent women, and so those women seduced Krishnadas or took him away from Mahaprabhu's service. So sometimes people, just their faith is not strong and they face some difficulty. Maybe they're attracted sexually by somebody. Maybe they have bad association. Maybe due to that bad associations, somebody tells them, why are you worshiping the Lord? You can do that when you're old. Just forget about it for now. We want to go drinking and gambling and do other kinds of activities, and your faith and your Krishna conscious faith is just making us not able to do what we want to do. So you have to stop that. Otherwise, we won't be your friend. I mean, people come. Some people are new. They don't have that strong of faith to begin with. So now, how can I say that they made some Vaishnava aparad and therefore they left? Maybe that's true, but I don't know. I don't know everybody individually to say this person left because of Vaishnava aparad. Maybe they just left because they became attracted to Maya. Can somebody become attracted to Maya without having made an upper Vaishnava aparad? What do you say? What's your answer? No sound.
Who are you asking, Maharaj?
You.
Me? Yeah, I guess so.
Can somebody, without having offended the Vaishnavas, can somebody be attracted to Maya?
Of course, I think so.
Yeah, well, if someone's attracted to Maya, then maybe they fall down. Now, I don't know if you could say, I don't know what the cause is, but there can be many causes. One is that they may not have been serious enough or attentive enough. Oh, there's Subhadra. Subhadra. ¿Cómo está Subhadra?
¿Cómo dices? Bien. Okay,
What nice teeth Subhadra has. What nice teeth Subhadra has. Does she bite people? No. That was
Padre, que tienes unos buenos dientes.
No, that was only Karuna Sundaris. her son. What is his name? New son. His name is Amal. What is his name? Amal Krishna.
Yes.
He has nice teeth, and she said he's uses them to bite people.
Maharaj, we had a question.
Yeah.
It was a long time. We meant to ask it a long time ago, but it's in referring to devotees, new people to the temple who might still be not following the principles, maybe especially meat eating. That is it okay for them to come into the kitchen and help doing service? Obviously not cooking because they're not initiated anyway, but like pot washing and chopping vegetables and just being in the kitchen. Do you have a problem with that, or?
Well, yeah, because I don't know. I guess that's to the judgment of the temple leaders, because I know in almost all situations there's sometimes a shortage of manpower for persons who will help, especially in the kitchen. There's always a shortage of man or woman power, of those persons who will go in maybe and help clean up, wash pots, cut up vegetables, you know. I really believe that such a person who is somewhat new in that respect, they should not touch fire, they should not cook for the deities.
Sure.
But they can cut vegetables as long as they're clean.
Yeah, we have a lot of new guests that are clean and, you know, good natured, but still have, you know, taking meat. But they come in very, very clean and very respectful to the temple.
Yeah, I think.
Because there's a lot of service involved. We're just always doing a lot of kitchen saver, isn't it? It's like one of our main things we do. So it's a way to engage people.
Yeah, and if I said no, they can't go in the kitchen, then people would say, "Well, we have no one, and our own cooks and our persons helping us." They said they say they cannot take on the burden of so many things, especially if we're cooking in large quantities for the public. We can't do that, so you have to make an arrangement. So that's what I would say the arrangement is. We have that example. Whether they can, if they're clean and they maintain the proper, they conduct themselves properly when they're helping.
Yeah.
Then I would think that's okay. Besides, I don't know what is our experience in general with people, because I'd see, for instance, when we'd go to India, that sometimes more than 1,000 people would take initiation on Gaur Purnima Day. People from villages and towns and all that. And without being overly critical, I can't. Can we say that they're all vegetarians to begin with?
Yeah.
I mean, I saw an example of that, although I'm not saying it's something bad, but we went to the Bhuteshwar temple of Lord Shiva, near Hapania. That's called Bhuteshwar, isn't it? I believe. And when we went there, they had what looked like a wooden bicycle spoke, where, you know, like a Y, a rounded Y, and the long post, and it's stuck in the ground. And that post with like these two things come up is where they would put the neck of a goat for cutting the neck, cutting the head off as a sacrifice for Durga or for I guess more for a sacrifice for Kalima. And many of the people were with us. I guess some people had just paid to go on the Navadip Dham Parikrama. They gave a donation. But some of them were also initiated devotees. And yet when they saw that fork where animals are offered to Lord Shiva or Durga, like that, they all took with their hands, they were scooping up earth, which was moistened by blood, and putting it in a little, like tying it in their sari or putting it in a paper cloth bag so that they could take that back to their home temples and maybe put on their altars or by their altars. So I don't know, maybe it's a wrong assumption on my part, but the fact that so many initiated people, initiated from Bengal, were scooping up earth that was moistened, in this case, moistened by the blood of an animal, and yet people were taking that blood to put it home in the altar. I'm wondering that I have a feeling that many of our real, actual in-depth Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they wouldn't care to do that. That's my conclusion. But the fact that so many people were doing that makes me think that they thought that was important to have some of that blood-soaked earth. And maybe my assumption is that not all those people, not that they're going to eat blood or anything, but maybe not all those persons are vegetarian. I don't know. Maybe it's a wrong assumption on my part. Maybe it's too far outside of our own culture, whether it's America or England or anything. Maybe we wouldn't really care to have some earth that had some blood from an animal soaked into it. I think the majority of our devotees wouldn't want to take that home to their altar. But I'm just saying, many persons who are initiated in India even, and they help with, maybe they help or don't help, I don't know. But one thing I could say from their actions, I had the feeling they were not all vegetarians. You think that's a fair assumption?
Yeah, I would think so.
Do you have any bloody earth around?
I hope not.
Of course, you can't say it in England that way. You can't say, do you have any bloody earth? You say, what do you mean by that, bloody earth? Anyway, I don't see anything so. People are. I mean, there's different standards. Govinda Maharaj talked that one man came from the government. But he wouldn't take off his shoes. He wanted to measure the kitchen or something, right? You know that story, Devashis?
No, Maharaj, I don't.
It was from the government. They were doing some kind of what do they call it? A survey. And he had to measure the kitchen. And he insisted on going into the kitchen at the mott in shoes. And Govinda Maharaj said, if you try to do that, I'll break both your legs. But maybe that was because of the shoes. But as far as I've heard, it was not so easy for people to go into the kitchen of Guru Maharaj. Maybe they could cut vegetables and stuff. Yes, come in. Let me just, 1 second, I'll be right back.
I got to the doctor, so.
Huh? description. I've already taken a photo of this, but this it says my favorite moisture. Okay.
Okay.
Either one.
Sounds good. I've heard of these.
Okay, good. All right. Anyway, now I think it's time, getting time towards the evening meal there. Any other last questions before we go? Oh, there's Tungarasa. Tungarasa, where are you?
Dandavat, Maharaj. I'm in Norway.
You're in Norway.
Yes. Today I'm at home.
Oh, you're at home.
Yes.
So Saraswati and Ishanuga are in northern Sweden. So they're in Scandinavia also. Is it very cold where you are?
Not so cold, not like Saraswati stays in their place. Here about plus 10 degrees. Plus 10.
What? Plus 10.
Plus 10, yeah.
Oh, okay. And Saraswati, how cold is it where you are?
It was -8 when we arrived here.
Minus 8 during the daytime?
Yes.
Or maybe
Here normally it goes -40 when it's really in January, February.
Oh, and if I said during the daytime, you could also say, what do you mean daytime? There is no daytime.
Yeah, it's very short. It's very dark already at maybe 2:30 or something.
Yeah, I wasn't anywhere near so far north. I lived for some time in Copenhagen, and during the winter sometime the days were very short. They would start about 9:30 and end about 3 o'clock in the winter, like that. So if I say to you, how cold is that during the daytime? Some places you could say, what do you mean daytime? There is no daytime. But minus 10 degrees?
Eight.
And -8. And Tungarasa, she said, 10 degrees above zero, so warmer there now. But when we were in Russia, some days were very cold like that too. But one thing I saw in Russia, everybody kept the radiator on all the time. They never turned it off. It was always on. And it was actually, inside it was warm. It was like being in a, it was like being in a hot house. Take care of your cold, your coffee, Ishanuga. All right. Tungarasa. Okay, so to all the devotees, I think we'll end here. Next Wednesday, come back. If anyone has any questions for us, try to think during the week. What's on our calendar? Let's see. What is the next thing coming up on our calendar? We have here, what is it? The Srinivasacharya, Dhananjaya Pandit, and Gadadhar Das disappearance and Gopastami. All that's coming up Friday. Then when do you have Ekadasi in London?
Monday.
Monday?
Yeah.
And also the disappearance of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, right?
Yes.
and Bhishma Pankaja. What is now Bhishma Pankaja? Do you know what that refers to?
No.
Well, maybe it has to do with the time when Bhishma gave up, left this world, because we're sometimes told it's. I always thought Bhishma left this world when the sun started traveling in the north, which would be about the time of the solstice, but I don't know. I could look up Bhishma Pankaja.
Panchaka.
No, it's Panchaka, I guess. Bhishma has something to do with it. Panchaka, yeah, it's Panchaka, meaning it says grandfather Bhishma fasted for these 5 days, preparing to give up his life. In the Hari Bhakti Vilas, it is said that if one is capable, one should observe fasting from certain foodstuffs on the Bhishma Panchaga for the pleasure of the Lord. This is optional. The fast should begin by remembering Bhishma Dev on the Ekadasi day and should end on Purnima, the full moon. The Padma Purana said that one pleases the Lord and makes spiritual advancement by such austerities.
Oh, yeah.
Good for fat people too. All right. I dandavat pranams to everyone.
Very much.
Hope to see you next week again here.
Bhakti Pavan Janardan Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.